Hey everybody, looks like we made it to another week. Happy Wednesday. It's yet another live stream. This live stream is part 2 of the Portrait of Carolina in India ink on this tinted paper here. So I'm very happy. Give me one quick moment, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and very quickly type in my password so we can go ahead and start with the chat as well. So what I need to do is go to this screen here, and it's something we do every day. It's just something I'm working on with XSplit as far as why this is happening, but you know, it's okay. It's no big deal. So let's go ahead and begin this real fast. And I just have to authorize it. And it'll just be one quick moment, guys. So here in New Jersey, we've gotten a little bit of snow. I would say 1 to 3 inches. Nothing really to write home about. Enough to keep you in the house, but not enough to, you know, change your life or anything, which is fantastic, by the way. I don't know. I know my friends in Canada, you guys look at our snow and probably chuckle because we don't know what snow is, right? That's the truth. And I should see you in just a few moments. Hey, great. I have Willie and Heath. How you guys doing? Happy Wednesday. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I am very excited. Yet another Wednesday. I think this one is going to be a good one. I did a little bit during the week just to do some of the areas that I feel are, you know, not as important. You guys seen me block in the hair, so that wasn't important. Today we're going to actually start going darker, increasing our ratio of more ink and less water, and that's going to be really cool. Jake, good to see you. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for stopping by. How's the sound and the how's the sound, and also how is the picture today, guys? Is the color okay? So Heat's doing well. Glad to hear that. Bradley, good to see you. How are you, sir? So today we're going to start off with this guy right here, which is the Xtreme Patriot Arow. It's become my all-purpose airbrush, and that's really exciting. Jake's doing very good. Heat says it sounds great, so that's fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our artwork over here, and we're going to, I would say we'll do, let's see, what can we do? Maybe maybe 9 eyedroppers of ink. So let's do that. And we'll change this ratio. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. And let's do 4 full eyedroppers of the water. Let's see how that goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you, a little bit extra. Now what you do is whenever you have, let's say you're doing this ink mixture, you're going to have some moisture. So always have a paper towel ready. And also in case there is any spillage, you are, you know, ready to quickly save the day. And believe me, I'm sure that happened to you guys, right? That's for sure. So Heath, how's it going? So we have a nice group here. One of the things I like about this particular airbrush, and I'll show you guys. One of the things I do like is that it does have a little bit of bigger reservoir here, which I really like, especially during the earlier going. So we'll just go ahead and put in a whole bunch there. And of course we have the cap. I know it's a silly thing to say, but always make sure that cap is really on tight. That is so important. I destroy so many artworks because of not doing simple things like that. Wendy, how you doing? Good to see you. All right, so we have Wendy in the house. Very cool. That's very exciting. We missed you last week, so we're so glad you're here. And so let's see. Okay, so before we start, we always test the airbrush. Always test the airbrush on the scrap paper, never on the actual artwork itself. I'll take this off. Adjust the air pressure. And let's go ahead and start with some dagger strokes. And also we get a handle on, you know, how much air pressure does spidering start, that sort of thing. Let me just lower the, there we go, so you guys can see that better. And just, you can play with the air pressure. You want to play with the air pressure before you go to the artwork. No trailing, so it's really good. So I'm really happy with this right now. So it's really very well tuned. The air pressure, I feel, matches the viscosity of the ink in the water, so I'm happy. We're going to put this over to the side. So this is where we are, guys. We basically have a very nice mid-value range happening here. As you can see with the reference, we're getting pretty close with that. What we're going to do is we're just going to start coming in a little darker, you know, enriching some of these cast shadows here, maybe even working on some of the darks here, just really increasing the contrast little by little. And then, yes, this is the Patriot, Wendy, the Xtreme Patriot Arow, which is really a wonderful airbrush, you know, as your workhorse. And then, of course, you come in with the amazing Sotar 2020 Slim for that detail. And I did a lot of tests this week, guys, and the Sotar Slim is definitely a wonderful airbrush in itself, and you do need that in conjunction with this airbrush here. Two of them really work. This will do most of your heavy lifting, and I believe the Sotar is perfect for finishing up the job. So very, very cool. Okay, so we have the airbrush well tuned, and let's see if we could go ahead and just start darkening the hair. Remember, we don't want to go too crazy. We're reacclimating ourselves to the work. Usually I'll start off with the 3-to-3 mixture, and I would really recommend you guys do that. But since this is a teaching exercise, I could speed that up a little bit by skipping that, you know. Oh, cool. So Willie says that we missed you last week. That is so true. It wasn't the same without you. That's for certain. So we're just enriching everything now. And little by little, we're going to, just like the other artworks, the other projects, little by little, we're going to increase the contrast and, you know, start working on our edges and everything like that. So did any of you guys experience the snow today? We in the Northeast, in the New York City area, we got about 1 to 3 inches of snow. How about you guys? Bradley says, so I'm thinking about investing in some of the Badger airbrushes. About what do they cost for both models? Now, this is really cool, Bradley. I have a coupon code that was given to me personally from Ken, who is the CEO of Badger, and it's 10% off. So the Sotar Slim would actually run you, I think, like $105, and the Badger Xtreme Arow would be about, I think that would even be under $100. So as far as affordability. They're really great. So definitely use my coupon code. It'll give you 10% off. And that's great. I use my own coupon code all the time for my stuff. Thank you so much, Wendy. She went ahead and put that up there for me. I appreciate that. So it just started in Massachusetts, Willie says. And Wendy says it's warm. Yes, that's perfect. Timothy PSA. I appreciate that so much, Wendy. James, how's it going? Good to see you, my friend. How's the truck driving going? Any interesting stories this week? I'm sure your career is very exciting just to see different parts of the country. And let's see if we can just maybe change the view here so you guys can see how far away I am. Actually pretty close. A lot of times I'll do two hands. I can also do one hand. If you're just starting out, I definitely recommend the the two hand as opposed to the one hand application of the airbrush. Notice I'm not going too crazy with freehand shields just yet. Right now we're still in that sketching stage. And once we get to that other stage, it's going to be great and things are going to come together. But right now we're just staying in that sketching stage, which is pretty cool. Oh, James said he forgot it was Wednesday. That happens to me. Sometimes all the days kind of blend together, especially now since I'm not working. I'm working at home. So that happens to me. A lot of times it just sort of blends together. James said he blew an airbag yesterday. That was interesting. Sounded like a bomb. Oh my God. So the airbag was outside the truck? So that's pretty scary, James, definitely. Bradley says you have to order straight from Badger to use that barcode. I mean, use that code. No, it's usaairbrush.com. Wendy put it up there just a little bit higher. Go on there. When you go to checkout, it's going to ask you, do you have a code? And you put Timothy PSA and it takes 10% off, which is really fantastic. So definitely do that. You also help out the channel. I get a small commission, and you know, it's really cool. And you know, help out Badger. You know, I think Badger's doing some really great things, and I love supporting them. Oh, it was part of the suspension. Oh my God, Raul, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much again for that, Wendy, and the email address. I mean the address of usaairbrush.com and also Timothy PSA. So that's really cool. And so Raul, how you been? How's everything? Always good to see you. Oh, no problem, Bradley. I missed those. It's hard. Those messages go up pretty quickly. So sometimes I miss what some questions that you guys have said, and I feel so guilty when I go ahead and watch the movie again. I do that. Yes, Bradley says Badger Airbrush is great, and he loves his. And you have, James, do you have the Sotar? The regular Sotar? Is that the one you have? And what we can do is we can maybe darken this area here, sort of catch this. See how this is light here, and that's going to draw everything off. So we definitely want to bring this dark down. So notice I'm a little bit further away, if I can show you. A little bit further away when I would say maybe about 4 or 5 inches away from the surface, when I want to do smooth, larger areas, because the cone actually is larger. So here I'm just going to change the color real fast. Let's see if I can do that with you guys here. It's a little too cold. Everything is blue. So let's see if we can maybe warm things up a little bit. Okay. And let's kill the saturation a little bit. So at least there, at least it doesn't look all weird. Looks a little better. So this is the other angle. And then we have this, another angle from the side here. And that one I could actually maybe lower to saturate the color a little bit. Okay, so this way you can pretty much see a little bit better what's happening, you know, the distance from the artwork, that sort of thing. So where were we? So we were right here. Let me put this over there. So we're right there, and let's see if I can get a scrap paper, because I don't want to kill a table. You never want to kill a table. See if I can get scrap paper here. There we go. And then we could go ahead and sort of catch this area up here. Now, what's really good about the Badger Patriot is that you do have a lot of room here. So you don't have to fill the airbrush as much, which I do love. And that's what you want in the workhorse of your painting. You know, you want it to do a lot of the work, a lot of the heavy lifting. It's a 0.3, I think it's a 0.3 or, yeah, 0.3 needle head assembly, which is good because you get a wider spray than, let's say, a 0.21, which is the Sotar Slim. So definitely very good for that. I have my coffee. I think I need it today. And let's go ahead and switch back. Okay. And hey, what's up, Bill? Good to see you. How's it going, man? That's great. Oh, so James has two 100s. Very cool. And so that's really nice to hear. That's fantastic. And let's see. So James says, good morning, Vietnam. And Bill says, I got a new table, glass, easy to clean. Sounds great. All right. So progress, right? You got to put money back into the career. So that's an important thing. Coffee is a lifesaver, I'll tell you, Bill says. And without it, you know, I'm on this strict diet. I was telling Wendy this week. I'm actually on a plant-based diet and no cookies, no chips, no soda. But I'm not giving up coffee. That's not happening. I don't care. I could go crazy without having at least coffee. So definitely that's the one thing I'm not giving up. I give up everything else, but not that. So I'm just going to use a freehand shield and get that edge there. So as you can see, you know, even though it didn't look like a big thing, to go ahead and put tone everywhere and just catch up the whole painting to one another is very... No soda. I know it's hard. I gave it up. My vice actually was Gatorade. Lemon lime Gatorade. So I used to drink that stuff like it was nothing. I used to go through like a case of it a week. So giving that up has not been easy. But coffee, I just think that's a whole different level. Wendy too says she has to have coffee. Bill says always reinvesting. Yes, put the money back into your business. Bill, you're doing really good with your YouTube channel, so I really admire it. Keep it going. Looks really fantastic. Heat says, Tim, I'm somewhere where it says that coffee is... I'm sure somewhere it says that coffee is good for you. And I believe it, Heath. That's the story I'm sticking to. And Wendy says, it is good for you, Heath. Well, that's good. And what about the sugar and the cream? That's the problem. Well, I just put in creamer. But I put in this, this this creamer, this like vanilla creamer, even though it's non-dairy. I know it's not good for me, but it's only 30 calories a cup, so it's not too bad. I don't put any sugar in there. Gatorade is just sugar. That's true. It is, but I love it so. It's funny how we love things that are bad for us, right? And what is up with that? So my goal, and it's been almost a week, is to try and stay on a plant-based diet. No chicken, no beef, no pork, no lamb, and just tuna every once in a while. Moderate my bread. So we'll see how this goes. You know, I go through this every now and then just to reboot my system. Bill says tomorrow I'll be releasing a new video, the video on how to make texture stencils. I think I recorded footage today. Nice. Okay. Fantastic. That's pretty great. You know, I'm sure a lot of people will really enjoy that, Bill, and it's just really fantastic. James says that my stepmom wants a Cricut. I want to go halves and get free stencils. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I know Kiva has it, which is great. She's really good with that. That's something that you definitely will help you down the line, and it will pay for itself. Just going to make sure that I am 100% in focus. Okay, great. So as you can see, we're just darkening things up. Just working on the hair. Just, you know, not too, we're not getting too crazy with detail. Hey, so we have Christian in the house. How's it going? How are you, man? It's good to see you. Christian is one of my students, and he does some great paintings. He did a sugar skull that's hanging up in his house, his parents' house. It's just like out of this world. So he's a really good artist, guys. This guy kicks butt. And so it's always good to see you, Christian. Always, always. AKA Brian. So he has 2 aliases, this guy. So, you know, which is really good. Really cool. He's a really good guy. Pleasure to teach him on a one-to-one basis. So I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, do a very basic tone here. And also, you know, look for overspray and sort of address that pretty quickly. Oh, Willie says he must have a good teacher. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And let's see. Bill says, I have a Cameo, but it's a bit older. I make my stencils without it, if that says anything. Okay, cool. I never made my own stencils. I'm just basically a freehand shield guy. But that's pretty neat, definitely. Did you ever do the drunken live stream, Bill? You guys are hilarious. That's funny. So what we're doing is we have a really good basis here. Now, what's the game plan? That's what we got to really think. So as I'm looking at this, let me put a little more light on the subject here. What are some of the aspects that we can look at together? Now, a lot of it's actually going to start popping together when we go ahead and put in the highlights. But I am going to wait on that because I realize that we can go maybe a value darker here. See that? Just a little bit. So we're going to work on the side plane of her nose, and this part of her, as the nose side plane goes into the plane of the face, and then maybe the raising of this here, and I think that would be pretty good. So let's go ahead and address this together. Now we're going to work on that value here. We're not going to go crazy. We're going to maybe check and see what distance we would have to be. So I'm going to probably be about, maybe about 4.5 inches. And you see that I'm just addressing that side plane. I know it looks dark right now, but once we darken the other areas, it's going to lighten up. And this is what I mean, like working the whole painting, keep moving around, and you're going to keep everything in harmony as far as values. If you stay in one area, that's where the trouble has. Bill says, Tim, have you ever used beeswax on your airbrushes? No, I haven't. I want to. I usually use this stuff. And this is pretty good, the plumber's tape, so that usually works. A lot of times I'll see that there'll be an air leak between my MAC valve and my disconnect, quick disconnect. So that usually works really well. So I definitely want to hear. Now, Willie, how have you been using the beeswax? Does it work well? And when would you guys use it? Because I want to know, you know, your experiences with it. And Heat says, I hear you, Bill. I don't drink much either, only when I'm alone or with someone. That's Heat, that is very funny. I like that. Very cool. So you guys, I all emailed you, those who I have your email address, I emailed you the reference photo of this if you ever want to go ahead and work on it on your own. After watching the live stream, or even just re-watching the live stream and working on your own, that would be good. I took the photo, so there's no copyright problems. So you guys have, you know, the right to go ahead and work with that, and it will be your own artwork. So Willie says, I just picked some up, haven't used it yet. So I hear that there's a good video on that, on how they do it. And Kiva, how you doing? Good to see you. How's everything? Kiva is doing some incredible artwork out there. It's unbelievable. So James, I sent one to you as well, so that's good. So I'm sending you the reference. I think I sent it around 9:15. In the event that you haven't received the reference photo that was with the announcement of this particular live stream, let me know, and I'll send that to you guys. I think it would be great to go ahead and just try and maybe employ some of the techniques that I'm using. Okay, so right here, like I said, I moved around. I darkened the nose here. So, and then I moved around to the hair. So you always want to keep things going. Oh, keep things moving. Move around. Here's some negative space where the side of her face is showing through. So now things are getting darker. I have the ability to go ahead and use the eraser to greater effect. So I don't think Tim has my email. No problem. So what you could do is go ahead and IM me your email if you don't want to put it on the live stream, or just go ahead and just give me the email now. Or you can email me personally at paintedglyphs@gmail.com. And then again, I'll just go ahead and send that to you there, James. So that would be a great help. And this way I could assist you guys in your project. You have any questions, you're working on some. And also, Kiva says she's excited to paint my reference. Perfect. That's great. I'm excited. And I'm excited to see how yours come out. That's for sure. Bill says, I've never used it on some airbrushes. Some it's necessary, as far as referring to the beeswax, which is interesting. Okay, so like I said, I moved around with the hair. I did the side plane there. And okay, cool. So I have your email address. I'll go ahead and get that out to you ASAP. Or if someone received my email today at around 9:15, 9:20, if you can even forward that to James now, that would be really cool. I would appreciate that. This way he would get it pretty quickly. So you see that we are just darkening that value here, sort of coming in together, similar to what's happening in the side plane of her nose. It's lighter, so we know the value is a little bit lighter, but it's still there. And what happens is when we go ahead and deepen the midtones, we realize that we can actually have more room to go darker in the darks, which is nice, which is fantastic. Yes, Bill says, is there a paint reference? Is there a Paint Tim's reference? I'm not sure. Oh, the email I sent, Bill. I don't know if you... Okay, I'm going to send that to you or forward that to you as well. So, or someone can forward that to Bill and James. That would be fantastic. So if you guys could do that, if someone can do that, I really appreciate it. So... And James says, can we put that on Facebook page? Everyone can share their attempts onto reference. Of course. Definitely. So I would love to see what you guys do. That would be amazing. So that would make me feel good. Because I know you guys really do fantastic work. So it's going to inspire me. Here we go. See how once we go ahead, no contest. We got enough of those things going on out there. And I don't want, you know, and that's funny, Bill, because I know you're saying it because there's so many contests on Facebook. I just don't want that, you know. Competition is great, but not a contest. You know, we're like a mutual beneficial sort of do your best, and we love what your best is, you know. And let's see, Wendy says, I may miss another live stream because I'll be in the mountains and don't think I'll get internet. Oh, wow. So Wendy gets to go to a lot of great places. She gets to go to New Mexico and, you know, just fantastic places, which I think is really cool. Wendy says she would get it done in 3 years. Too funny. Bill says, I'm going to be gunning for my best buddy. You're pretty funny. That's hilarious. And so we're just darkening up those values. Back to New Mexico again. You went this time last year, Wendy, or was it during the summer you went last year? I'm not sure. I think it was during the summer. If you post your painting, you're a winner. Yes, that's true, James. That is so true. Kiva says, it's constructive, though if you can lose gracefully. I only said, well, crap, one time. That's funny, Kiva. That's hilarious. And, you know, it's like, who judges these things? Because it's all so subjective, you know. I've probably entered... I would say at least 300 national, international shows with my art with the pastel societies. Also, you know, basically with pastels. And listen to this. One painting didn't get into another show, didn't get juried in. That same painting won first prize in another show. So it's like same painting, different life, you know. It's really hilarious. So let's go ahead and see if we could just... do some dagger strokes. Try and get this eye to turn, right? That's what we want to do. See that? Some dagger strokes, trying to get that eye to turn towards the light. That's what we want to do. And then maybe we could do some really nice dagger strokes. Now, what I would want you to do eventually is, even though I'm working with a much darker gray, you can still go much lighter with that. And you'll get there if you're not already there yet. But right now, stay with those ink ratios because that's going to help you immensely. So let's see. So now that the cabin's at cloud... Oh, okay. Oh, so you're at the cabins now? How cool is that? James says, as much as I hate participation trophies, if you post your painting, you're a winner. And Wendy says, I did October. Okay, October. So earlier, I think James was like, forgot what day it was, and I'm forgetting months. And, okay, Bill, does me no good to hear of live stream when it's over. Oh my goodness, listen to that. I told her artists are not my competition. They are my support. That's what Bill says. Yeah, you know, we're here to help each other, guys. We're here to push each other to get better and to support each other and do what we can to help each other grow as artists and business people. Now, one of the things I want to do is talk about the business of art, that, you know, we should be making money. You know, I'm not talking about how much money, but we all should be making money, and we really should be, you know, pushing our careers, and that's very important. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check, making sure that the focus. Let me just go this way. Just going to check and make sure that the focus is optimal. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, good. So I'm pretty happy with that. And so I keep going back to the hair. I have to force myself to make sure that I move around the painting. We have to work on her forehead. And the dimensions of her forehead. We have to make sure that we deepen this local color of her skin. Very important. As we richen up the midtones, we're actually going to go ahead and be able to come a little bit darker with these really dark darks here, and then in turn use our eraser and pull out some of those lights even more. And like I said, we're just little by little gaining a three-dimensional surface, and we're getting darker and darker. And as we get darker and darker, we're resolving shapes, the inner contours as well as the outer contours. Right now, the outer contours are still pretty crude, and we're going to get more refined as time goes on. So that's something that we are going to be really stressing in this painting. Same here, you know, we did the side plane of her nose, and now we have to make sure that we make the nose turn in space, which is so important. And how we do that is refine the shapes as we go. You see, we're refining this shape here, and also the negative space. One of the things you want to look for is this right here. You see how that's sort of perfect arrow shape right there. And then we can go ahead and reference our own work and say, do I have that perfect arrow shape? I do to some extent. I can go ahead and actually fix that. Those are the things I want you to be looking for, guys, is constantly going back and forth, looking for a congruence of your reference to your work, making sure that you have not only the positive shapes, but the negative shapes sort of pieced together, which is really fantastic. So Wendy says, thanks, Kiva. Girls, time out. You guys are funny. But definitely is good to go on vacation and to, you know, get out and sort of, you know, decompress, right? We need that, both for our physical and mental. And that's what I'm doing right now with my diet, sort of decompressing, getting rid of a lot of toxins, trying to think clearer and paint clearer. That's important. So you can see right now, we're still in our mid-tone stage, but we are doing pretty well. She's starting to turn. She's starting to not look so flat. And that's something you really want to work on. But with this technique, you'll get there. There's no rush, right? There's definitely no rush to get there. So as you go darker, you are worrying more about the larger tree dimensions. And remember all the paintings that we've done, in the end it all comes together. You know, when we come in with those dark highlights and those highlights with the pastel, it really is nice. So a lot of people have asked me, let's see. James says, let's see. James says, look at the freaking airbrush is amazing. I appreciate that, James. Some guy was on the airbrush forum asking for something to be painted for free. We ripped him a new one. That's what James. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, to ask for artwork for free. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of artists do give work away for free. You know, we're all very, we're all very kind-hearted. But, you know, I sell my work. And I, a lot of times, I'm very happy to do that. And I always go the extra mile to make sure that the person is getting value in that. And someone who actually is living off my art now, it's hard, it's hard. But to someone go ahead and just blatantly say, can someone make something for me for free? That's kind of rough, right? It's kind of, lack of a better term, that's a lot of chutzpah, right? Or there's other more derogatory terms I'm not going to say, but yeah, I can imagine he wasn't too healthy, wasn't received too well. Bill says free healthcare, free art, free homes, free food. Yeah, I think artists should be subsidized from the government, to a certain level, and because I think art is really crucial for any society to thrive. Art is so important, and that's not really happening too much in the United States, not right now. James says, I'm afraid to ask about buying that one painting because I don't want to insult you. No, you won't insult me. So let me know, which painting you want, and we'll talk, Hey, Norm, how's it going? Good to see you. How's everything, my friend? Oh, if I was president, it'd be a lot of money allocated to the National Endowment of the Arts. I'll tell you that much, And there'll be an airbrush in every kitchen. So let me know if you have any questions, because what I'm doing now is just moving around, darkening as I go. As you can see, just moving around, darkening, refining some of the shapes. I'm going to come in with the freehand shield in just a moment. Now right here, let's look at her shoulder here. And let's see. So Bill says, anyone see the art display tossing crumbs at a woman vacuuming? That's crazy. Yeah, I think those are the wrong people who are being called artists. I know that's kind of a controversial statement, but I think our university program, art instruction in university, is what's causing the problem. I'll take anyone with a doctorate degree in fine arts, and I know that everyone here could paint circles around them. And they have a doctorate degree and probably making several $100,000 a year teaching what they don't know. and just repeating the process. So their teachers sucked, and now they're going to be teaching new students, and they in turn are going to be sucky, and they're going to suck teaching other people. So it's this big circular of suck. And you know what? Whenever I meet, one of those PhDs in fine art painting, they run from me because they start out acting like, oh, I have this and I have that, and I look at their work and I don't say a word, and then I say, well, go to my website, and they like to run because they know that they've been found out. And I know this is a very controversial thing to say, and art practice. Let me see. So art theory without practice is dead. So you can't teach art theory without knowing how to do it. You can't. And if you teach it without knowing how to practice it, then you're really teaching nothing. How many people, it's like, James, and he's a truck driver. Could someone go ahead and give me a book? You can give me a book and have me read how to drive a truck, and then you can tell me on the phone. Would you be excited to get into a truck with me after that? Probably no way, right? And I think it's the same way with art. Somewhere it got, somehow it... Bill says circulars suck. His wife just giggled. That's funny. Your wife has a good sense of humor, Bill. Yeah, it's hilarious, and I wish it wasn't so, and I wish I didn't have to call out a whole group of people. But come on, they're making a lot of money, and it's not fair. And Willie says that's the same problem in other areas as well, and of life as well. Those who can't do, those who can't teach. Oh, those who can do, those who can't teach. And I think, it's this whole thing with a piece of paper. Yeah, I don't have the ability to teach at a university because I don't have that piece of paper. But I do have 8 years of art school studying with the best teachers in New York City. Teachers whose work is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art have done paintings of the George Bushes. It's just amazing. Studied with the most famous painters, yet that person who runs from me is teaching at the university. I know if I had a kid and Junior wanted to go ahead and become an artist, I would not want him to study with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, especially if I'm pouring out like $100,000, right? College is crazy how expensive it is. So it's really bad. But so here's the good thing, is that I could go ahead and do something where I could teach those who really want to learn as I do now. And that's fantastic. I can teach you guys, and that makes me happy, is that I can open up doors for you, and then you can decide what to do with it. James says, your art speaks for your abilities, Tim. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. No, that was James. And Bill says, one of my friends just got his MFA, and man, he hated the last years of school. True. Hey, Rick, good to see you. How's everything going? Always good to see you, Rick. And another Wednesday, and welcome to part 2 of this live stream of the Portrait of Carolina. So, yeah, so the last 2 years of MFA, because I think it was all just sort of baloney, right? When I took art in school, when I took art in university, what I learned and what I came away with it was my intense love for art history. I think an art historian does well to go to university to learn how to, become an art historian and to get that academic tradition and, that really thorough learning. But I've really helped me as an artist and helped me as a teacher. Jake says he dropped out of art school because my teacher sucked and I painted better than they did and it wasn't good. They were that bad. I hear you there, Jake, definitely. James says part 2. Isn't this part 3? No, this one's part 2. Because last week we did the drawing, remember, James? And then from the drawing, it almost had a part 1 and 2 because we did the drawing and then the beginning part of the white and the black. So yes, we're only up to part 2 with this. I also think what's going on is that this painting is going a lot faster than other paintings in the past, mainly because it's a profile, and I think that sort of a lot less information than the last couple of ones. I mean, the last one, we had the dress and everything. It took longer. Oh, Rick says, you're all so welcoming. How can I not keep coming back? Well, we're glad you come back there, Rick, because, you know, we really enjoy having you and your comments. It's very important. This is another thing. So, oh, maybe it's true. So Willie says maybe I'm getting faster. That's a very good point, and that could be happening, especially with that white. Remember, Rick? I mean, remember, Willie? I'm getting much faster with the white, much more sure of how to use the white in the initial stages. And of course, that's the Bombay White India ink. Well, I don't know what day it is either. James says. You guys are great, I'll tell you. I so look forward to this every week. Regardless of anything, you know, as long as I have a roof over my head, I'm going to continue these live streams regardless of anything that happens. And I just love it so much. And I'm going to be changing my channel in the sense of doing a little bit different each week, doing your recorded videos, and offering some videos just for Patreon, but always doing these live streams and always offering it, you know, totally free, not holding back any information. And that is something that I think is special about you guys. And you guys support me. You buy the airbrushes that I talk about, and you support me that way, and I appreciate it. You know, Dr. Steve bought a painting, so yeah, you guys give back, you know, and I so appreciate that, you know, I really do. And let's say Heat says you rock, Tim, you rock as well, and Wendy says she loves the live streams. And Wendy says, I rock as well. You rock, Wendy. I appreciate it. This is the highlight of my week. I'd hate to miss it. Well, I hate you to miss it too, James. That's for sure. Kiva says she loves my work and my live streams. Kiva, you as well. So important to have you. And James and Wendy and everybody. You know, without you and Bill, I would, you know, you're missed when you're not here. You know, that's so true. You guys are always missed when you're not here. So we're at a special time with the live streams. We're still large enough to be a dynamic group and, you know, exchange information, but we're still small enough to have that, you know, one-on-one sort of small art class sort of feel to it. So I started a large pastel painting and started coming in with the color with that. So I'll be working on the pastel, but that's not going to be any live streams or anything like that. That's just going to be for, you know, the other side of me. I'm going to enter that into this year's Pastel Society of America show. And I always want to do one large major pastel painting a year. So that's my one I'm working on. It's a 24 by 36 full figure, which is really nice, and going in with that. He says, Kiefer, did you get your badgers yet? And so he says he haven't gotten his badgers. I know I was speaking to Ken, and he said that, you know, they are really starting to get a lot of them out. So you guys should get it soon, hopefully. So I'm hoping, because I can't wait to hear what you guys think. You're going to love them. So what I'm doing is going ahead and trying to get some sort of turning going on here. Because it's a little flat. And we don't want... And I'm really far away from the subject now. Far away from the paper. And I want to get some really very subtle turning of the form here. Nothing too crazy. Just to show that there's something happening here. It's not just a flat shape. We don't want that, right? We don't want those flat shapes. So what we're going to do is we'll take our small freehand shield and let's go ahead and really start pulling some of these hard edges here. Now guys, with your own work, you know, I always recommend moving around like this. If you see me, I'm going around, moving here and there. And just refining edges, refining shapes, working on the outer contours, the inner contours, you know, really seeing everything relative to one another, which is good. Let's see. So Kiva hasn't received hers yet. He says, looking forward to my slim so I can try the larger needles in my regular 2020. Yeah, that's fantastic. Kiva says that her Harder and Steenbeck is very nice. I'm still loving it. Can't wait for the badges so I can compare. Yes, I'm going to be interested in hearing that because I never used the Harder and Steenbeck yet. Kiva is working on the Harder and Steenbeck Infinity. She bought the Infinity Chameleon, which was about 3 weeks now, right? So compare and contrast to Iwata. So I really want to hear the pros and cons, if you don't mind, for everyone. Kiva, what are the pros and cons of Harder and Steenbeck and your Iwata Custom Micron? I would love to hear that. James says, Kiva, I'd be interested to know what you think about that. Willie says, I got my Patriot last week. Tim, do you use the air valve on the bottom? I don't. I use this one right here because I know it. So that's what I do. So, but that's only me. You know, I'm a creature of habit. That's why I went ahead and changed it for the smaller trigger. I don't want to have an airbrush and have to learn new things. I want the airbrush to conform to me and as much as it can. And see, Willie, you too. And that's so important. So, you know, so when this came in the mail, I'm sure it's a great idea and a lot of people love it. But Tim doesn't love it. I don't want to get used to something when I have a job to do, you know? No, I think that's why this airbrush was so amazing, because it was almost made for me. And that's how I felt. So, definitely. So, Wendy says, cool, what do you like best about the Harder and Steenbeck? Wendy asks Kiva. And then Kiva says, lighter, easier to clean, all screws apart. Easier to clean all screws. Love the trigger and better precision. Better precision as far as, you know, the aiming of the paint or finer the line. So if you could, you know, explain that part, that would be great. I heard so many things. I heard from a famous airbrush artist that a famous airbrush said that they felt like the Harder and Steenbeck, the trigger was rough. That's what I heard, but I take that with a grain of salt because that person is actually being sponsored by Iwata. So I don't know if they're being 100% truthful because Iwata is paying them good money. So like I said, I take that with a grain of salt. Kiva says, yes, better aiming, thinner line, just a better brush. Wow. Wendy says she's jealous. Kiva says, no, not rough at all. Okay, great. So also, could you tell me what are the pluses of your Iwata Custom Micron SB? What are some of the pluses of that, if you remember any? You know, if there are any, for that matter. Harder and Steenbeck, James says Harder and Steenbeck has the smoothest trigger I ever felt. Very interesting. So that's very good. So yeah, I think that's cool that, you know, we talk about, you know, our airbrushes and different brands and how they contrast with one another. And this is a great conversation, and I really like that. So Bill says Spray Gunner. Now Spray Gunner, is that a place where you buy airbrushes, or is that actually an airbrush manufacturer? That's interesting. And what I'm doing is I'm just going ahead and just reiterating those, reiterating these lines here, these contours. And it goes a long way with helping. I still got to come in further. I might come in with the, you know, with the regular paintbrush, and just, you know, really get in there with the ink. I remember last week several of you guys asked, why do I use India ink as opposed to pastel pencil? Well, pastel pencil has a different texture, and it definitely will come up and cause problems, and then I have to fight the texture. With this, using the same ink mixture even, it's just very transparent as far as working together, which is really nice. So Kiva has some information. Kiva says the Micron is a great airbrush. I started with the Eclipse. I went from that to the Micron, and of course I was like, wow, no comparison from the Eclipse to the Iwata Custom Micron CM-SB that you have. Loved Iwata and swore by it until I got a Harder and Steenbeck. Very interesting. Spray Gunner is a retailer, James says, and Bill says they sell airbrushes and supplies and parts. And WA on Artistry say they carry Badger, Harder and Steenbeck, and GSI. But if you guys go to Airbrush, USAirbrushsupply.com, you can always use my 10% off discount code. So always remember that. Even if you're buying, you know, accessories, and they have accessories for Harder and Steenbeck and all the different other brands, valves, anything you need. One of the things that I did get, which is really fantastic, and sometimes you need it, the airbrushes come with it, but one of the airbrushes that was given to me to try out didn't come with this, which is the connector from, and I'll go ahead and show you guys. Here's a very interesting airbrush, and I really do like it. It's the Badger Revolution, and this is the Velocity. And when I purchased it, it didn't have this connector. And through USAirsupply.com, I was able to go ahead and purchase this with the 10% off, which was fantastic. And then now it's all ready to go ahead and work with Iwata, which is really good. So I might just go ahead and fire this one up, you know, maybe in the last hour. If you guys want to see this one in action, let me know, and I'll be happy to. So this is the Velocity. This is the Revolution Velocity, which is really fantastic. I tried it out the other day, and I was quite happy with it. But, you know, you get used to your favorite airbrushes, and that's interesting. So, Kiva, what great insight that is. I mean, so my thoughts is I have the custom Micron, I have the CM-C Plus, I have the CM-SB, I have both Eclipses, I have the HPCH Highline. So, you know, I've worked with mostly Iwata. They're great airbrushes. I found that what happened with Iwata is that they're very high priced. I think Iwata is also overpriced. They're well made but overpriced. When I really got introduced to Badger, I can't believe that this airbrush is $100. And then this airbrush is less than $100. And they definitely give Iwata a run for their money, like half price. This one actually is 1/4 the price of the Iwata custom micron. But do I still use my custom microns? Of course, you know, and they're fine airbrushes, and I wouldn't say anything against them. Now, it's so cool when someone like Kiva goes ahead and purchases the harder in Steenbeck and actually is gracious enough to tell us, because then we could actually go ahead and say, well, maybe I will try that. So that would be really fantastic. So that's so great. So Kiva, thank you so much. And then when you start with the Badgers, I would just love to hear your thoughts on it. So Wendy, you are well versed in both in the Badger and the Iwata. Tell me how you feel with the Sotar as opposed to your custom micron that you have. I would love to hear your thoughts. Same thing with I know that Willie has you have the Eclipse, right? You have the side feed Eclipse, and you also have the 2020 Slim. What are your thoughts? So I leave out those questions out to you because I really value your opinions out there. Very important to me. Because that's like, you know, hit the ground running on the street sort of information, which is really fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I am going to double check here and just make sure that our chat is live. And I'm just going to go ahead and redo the chat. Once a day, it always gets stuck after the first hour. So there's a couple of things with that little chat widget. I tend to use the chat widget because I just like for you guys to see it, and those who are watching the stream afterwards when it's recording, they can actually look at the stream and be part of the conversation, not wondering what the heck I'm saying and who I'm talking to. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in there. Almost there, guys. Let's see. And then I'm going to come here. All right, so I should see you guys in just one quick moment. There you guys are. I see you again. So I want to hear your thoughts. So that's one of the reasons I want chat back. Okay. So I'm going to go back to all the way over here. Tim getting close to 2,000 subs. That is so true. Who said that? Let's see. Someone said, oh yeah, so Willie said Tim getting close to 2,000 subs. Yes, so close, Willie. So exciting. Bill says, I get to paint mine from them these days. I'm going to hit them up for affiliate marketing at some point. Yes, definitely. You have to do that. Affiliate marketing is definitely, if you're an influencer, you want to make sure that you're able to use your influence to, you know, make a little extra income. So that's definitely what, you know, is a good side hustle. Kiva says the only thing better about the Micron is it comes in a much nicer case. That's pretty funny. And then Kiva says, very cool, James. James says, my 100 was $35. Isn't that amazing? See? One notch for Badger. Okay, and I wish I had purchased all Badgers, Wendy said. Wow. Wendy says, happy to share my experience. Bradley says, I love mine too. Let me see. So Bradley, laughing out loud, you're all making me feel like the poor cousin. I'm still rocking the Eclipse. Hey, the Eclipse is a great brush there, Bradley. You know, I always had my students buy an Eclipse, and that's so important. You know, it was a great first airbrush. Probably one of the better first airbrushes out there. Wendy says she's drooling over the Harder and Steenbeck. Let's see. I hope I don't miss any of the comments here. If I do, I apologize. James says, it's an Infinity 2-in-1 Chameleon, Wendy. Okay, that's true. And Bill says, I guess the TNC Omni is the only thing I've tried. Oh, the Thayer and Chandler. Which Omni? I do have one here to show you guys. I do have one Omni. Let me go check it out. Here's a very interesting Omni here. It's the Sightline. This is what I like about it is that, you know, very much like the Slim, it, you know, you definitely can see very well with it. One of the main differences of the Sightline is that it's a little bit longer, as you can see from the Slim. So that is a point for the Slim, which I think is important. And I like what Badger is doing, is actually making the distance of their precise airbrushes from the trigger to the needle much closer. And that really does help. It really does. Let's see. Kiva says, I got an Infinity in Chameleon 2-in-1. That's pretty cool. Willie says, honestly, I love the 2020, but the other day I tried the Iwata side feed and didn't like it. You know, it's a whole different feel, right? You know, and I think like here, and I'll show you one of the things I found out from the side feed Iwata. I'll be right there, guys. I just have to find my Eclipse side feed. So here we go. We have these two airbrushes. Now, one of the pluses of the side feed Iwata is the short distance between these 2 points. But you can see that the Sotar 2020 still has it beat, I would say, by 10%, which really makes a difference when you're getting in there. So if you look at the two, you can see I can be a little more precise with this one than this one here. But this is a little rougher, a lot rougher than this. I believe this is a 0.35 needle head assembly. This is a 0.21. And I just think this one's a little bit smoother. The Iwata is a little more robust. You know, you definitely feel it. It's a little more substantial. But yeah, I agree. I definitely would paint with the Sotar 2020 if I had the choice between the two of them. And Kiva says, thanks, James. I was away from my keyboard. James says, I'm the leader of the Harder and Steampack fan club. Very cool. And Wendy says, thank you, Kiva and James. James says, the 100 is really short, too. And that makes a difference, that short distance between the needle and the trigger. Always look for that for, you know, a detailed fine art airbrush. Says here, Willie says, I have a custom micron, but I never use it. I think I'm afraid of dropping it. Yeah, you know, Iwata parts are really, really expensive. Not so much the Eclipse. The Eclipse are affordable. But when you get into the custom microns, and when I was just using my custom micron, and this was my first airbrush, my first micron is the CM-C Plus. Fantastic brush. But, you know, if you work every day like I do, and you really, you know, you really give it a beating, I had to change my head assembly probably once every 2 years. And that's like $140. So, you know, I do love it. It's a great airbrush, but I think the other brands are a little bit more economical. And I also feel that the money you save is much better than any kind of difference in performance. So that's why, you know, I'm really advocating Badger. Let's see. Kiva says, laughing out loud, Willie, I think Iwata's are bulky, Kiva says. They're heavier, I think. And then James says, Willie, don't get a K33. And then he says, I find the Eclipse much heavier than my 20. Much heavier. I mean, there are advantages. I mean, I mean, I do like the way it feels, you know. It does have a different feel, like a different car, you know. It's between a Chevy and a Ford, or a Mitsubishi and, you know, and maybe a Chevy. Is that, you know, there's a different feel to the both of them. And, like, even if you just have these two are actually very close in construction. This one, the Revolution Velocity, is very close to this. I do like much better what Badger is doing lately, is really changing the game. So I really recommend buying the later versions of the Badgers. You know, the 2020 Slim, the this one right here, which is the Xtreme Patriot Arow. Definitely their later models are just, they blow away everything out there. But I just don't have the information on the Harder and Steenbeck, so it was great to get it from Kiva today. Okay, let's go back to the artwork. So that was pretty cool. Good side information. Hearing about what you guys feel about the different brands. I think that's really important. So, James, what is the K33? Is that like a Russian surplus? Old Soviet Union airbrush? It sounds funny. But I'm just kidding. But seriously, what brand is the K33? Kiva says, Iwatas are great. I still use mine for larger work. Yeah, you know, they're good airbrushes. But if I have to choose and I have to give, you know, my 2 cents, I definitely would direct people to the later versions of the Badgers. Just, I'm very happy with them. And just, you know, keep things clean. So here, I'm not going to put in, but sort of the muscle in her cheek as it comes down here, you can see it, but I'm not going to come in with the white just yet to really show that. But I'm definitely making a mental note. You definitely want to feel the three-dimensional qualities around here. And let's see, Willie says, I started with the Badger 150 long ago, not one of my favorites. Yeah, you know, that was to me, I felt that was a rougher airbrush. I didn't enjoy the 150 either. So I definitely understand it, you know, as far as precision, I didn't enjoy it as much. I really think what Badger is doing now is unbelievable. And, yeah, so, but someone like Gaston could go ahead and do incredible things. I think he puts the 150 head assembly on his Sotar, which is just out of this world. And he's like a genius when it comes to that. And so I definitely want to get more information from Gaston on that. That's really cool. And James says, oh yeah, they jacked the price up. Oh, so what did they jack the price up? Oh, the K33 is a hot rodded micron. They changed the needle and stuff. Really? So what did they do? Did they make it even smaller than the 0.18 needle? Because that would be really, really something. Now, Bill says, I used whatever airbrush was clean on my last painting. I know how that feels. Yes. You know? There were a time when I would use the airbrush that was working. A lot of my airbrushes sort of went kaput, you know. A lot when I was doing more, you know, working with acrylic more. A lot of airbrushes would go out of commission, and then I would have to, you know, use the other airbrushes. Problem I had with Iwata, and I don't know if you guys have it, that the trigger actually gets stuck. And I have to go ahead and take the valve off and then, you know, and clean inside there. Do you guys have that problem? That was the main issue I had. I still have with the Iwatas. And Kiva says, of course, we all know I always have dirty airbrushes. I know, Kiva, we got to go ahead. You know, we're going to do an intervention. We're all going to do a live stream in your studio, and we're all going to, like, go ahead and talk about, you know, how important it is to clean your airbrushes. Too funny. That's hilarious. And I started with the VL, which is a Pache. Very nice. And James says, I'm not sure what they did to make the K33. It's way too expensive for my blood. Lots of people swear by them. Yeah, you know, we don't really need to spend all that kind of money. Bill says it's the Achilles heel. And is that the cleaning of the airbrush? Is that what it is as far as Kiva? So that's interesting, Bill. So that's very funny. Kiva's laughing. James says, I got the VLST and the H. So what do you guys think of Pache? Are you happy with them? A lot of people, I'm just hearing so many bad things about the Pache. Bill says, Tim, should see mine when I spray too fire. Oh my God. I think I would, you know. I'm such a, you know, Felix Unger when it comes to my airbrushes. Look at all my airbrushes, guys. So this is the shape my airbrushes are in. So look at them. They look like they just came out of the box, and I use them all the time. So yeah, it's just, I think I would drive most artists crazy. Bradley says, I haven't used a Pache in years. Interesting. Bradley says, actually, Willie says the VL was awesome for t-shirts. Interesting. And Kiva says, mine works better dirty, like it's like Lucky Socks. See, that's the funny thing. You know, a lot of people say that. It just cracks me up. James says, Paches really suck. Bill says, the ring on the air valve, Tim, it's the one big failure points on the Iwata. You ain't kidding, Bill, because I really hate when I go to work and all of a sudden I go like this and the trigger just stays down or just slowly comes up. One of the funny thing about teaching airbrush to students, young students, and they don't clean their airbrush correctly and they start their class. And the first thing I do is, don't do anything, let me look at your airbrush. And then I pull down and it goes, tss, and then I lift up the trigger and it goes, tss, slowly goes up. And I'm like, one student actually went with me and says, I like the way that it goes up slowly when I release it. And I'm like, no, that's not a good answer. You got to make sure that's clean because that's not going to help. So that's good to know about that ring on the air valve. I do find that. I'm always taking the piston out of the Iwata, cleaning it and putting that piston back in. So really, really a pain in the neck. Kiva says, Paches are poop. And which Pache did you return and how long ago? Now, you know, Bradley says he was wondering about the Talon. I thought the Talon could have been an amazing airbrush because it was just so cool looking. I love that mustard color and the eagle engraved on the side. It would have been a great airbrush, but so many people have said horrible things about that. And I think what's happening is that with the Talon, the needle is not centered correctly. And when I see people test it out, what happens is a good airbrush that is working correctly will do something like this. You know, you'll have a nice smooth line. But if it isn't working correctly, you'll have this. And, you know, you'll have, even in more of a micro, you'll have it sort of do this. And I think because it's not centered correctly and the needle starts moving around. And that's very important to actually have that. And I think that is like a fundamental engineering problem. And that's why I love, you know, the 2020 and this, because you can just tell it's just so centered and just right where you want it to be, you know. It just really does what you want. And so that's so important. And that's one of the things I think the Talon really lost out on. I would actually redesign the Talon. That's what I would like to do. and make it a good airbrush, because it really could have been a home run because of how cool it looked and just the name on it and everything. It really could have been just a real home run for them. Pache was a great company. So did you know, now I talked to Ken at Badger, and I'm sure you guys know that Ken's dad used to be a machinist for Pache, and he left Pache and started Badger, and that's how Badger came about. And a lot of the machinists from Pache started with Badger, so I thought that was pretty cool. So very interesting. And then let's see. It looks pretty, but that's it with the talent. So true. Bill says, "Who was a leader in the industry and haven't kept up? Who wasn't a leader in the industry and haven't kept up in 20 years?" Meaning Pache. So true. And James says, "I have like 6 Paches." Bradley says, "Well, thanks for the info. I think I'm going to go with the Badgers." Yes, go with the later models. So definitely get the Sotar Slim 2020, the Sotar 2020 Slim, and definitely go with this airbrush right here, the Xtreme Patriot Arow, but make sure you change out the trigger. Now, the high thing trigger is really good, and I think that's fantastic, the high roller trigger. But, you know, Bradley, I don't want you to get used to the high trigger, so just go ahead and change it with the lower one. You'll get used to it much faster. That's my own opinion. Kiva says, "Sorry, James, Sorry, James, have you had better luck?" And no, he was with Thayer and Chandler, as James says. So who was with Thayer and Chandler? Was it Ken's dad? Because I know they actually they acquired Thayer and Chandler a little bit later. Badger, they acquired them, which was pretty cool. James says, "My best luck is with the Harder and Steenbeck. It's a tank." And since it's German, it's a Panzer, right? So cool, so cool. You know, I do love the different engineering of different countries, you know. I love German engineering and the Japanese engineering and the American. You definitely... Oh, James' dad. So he's with Thayer and Chandler. Very cool. Okay, I did not know that, James. So thanks for that. That's cool. Yeah, it's just so cool, the information, you know. And talking to Ken, he just knows everything about the airbrush industry, and I want to learn, you know. One thing about airbrush is that you want to learn everything about them, right? You want to know... I want to know the physics of it. That's one of the things I'm going to be trying to learn. So as you can see, since everything is darkened, I'm going ahead and darken that value right there. So I'm going to darken the nostril, and then we're going to go ahead and work on... Now, okay, you see how I'm doing this really tight detail? Number one, the needle is centered correctly, so I'm able to do that. Number two, I'm just doing dagger strokes. So, you know, when you can, practice your dagger strokes, and I think it's just going to pay dividends. All those dagger strokes I do during the week when I don't have a project or I'm in between projects, I do my dagger strokes, and look, it's paying off now, just like practice. If I didn't do that, believe me, the dagger strokes would look horrible, and so would the eyelashes. And let's see, James says, no, the Pache SHS. Willie says the turbo was a cool brush, but when it went wrong, it was a pain. You know, I have the turbo somewhere. I purchased it not too long ago from an airbrush friend, but I have yet to try it. So that's interesting. And so I got to try that, you know. It's sort of very interesting airbrush, right, Willie? James says that's why it's funny that Badger now owns Thayer and Chandler. Yes, that's a very interesting acquisition. So that was a very cool acquisition. James says, I have the turbo, but it needs parts. Interesting. Yeah, that's one of the interesting airbrushes. I had this airbrush book. I believe it was something like the Airbrush Bible or something like that. And it had some of the old school airbrush artists, you know, from the 70s in it. And just, it showed some of the airbrushes from the 60s and 70s. Just wild, just really cool looking airbrushes. And that turbo is really like futuristic. Looked like it could be in Star Wars or something. So you can see as I'm darkening, I'm able to have sort of license to darken these eyebrows too. And so you see, guys, as I'm moving around, there's a lot happening, but it's happening slowly. It's evolving. And that's what we want. We want that evolution. And you know, that's what we look for in our work, you know, just to, there's no rush. We're building it up slowly, taking our time, and it's just going to come together. So let's go ahead and really hit this hard edge here. So what I'm going to do probably for the last half hour is deepening my darks and get ready for next week. This is actually going to be, believe it or not, this is like rare that it happens. I think the last painting that ended in 3 lessons, or, you know, 3 parts, was the Rosita from The Walking Dead. She was in 3 parts. Most of them are 4 or 5 parts. But this one is going pretty quick, so that's pretty cool. It just seems to be flowing, right? You guys find that sometimes paintings flow more and some just give you more headache. Do you guys find that? Okay, so as you can see, I got a little overzealous here. And you can see where I did get a little overzealous right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I go and erase. Remember, that's so important, guys. Let it dry before you erase, because if it's wet, it's going to cause a disaster. And you guys seen it in the past, how it took the whole painting for me to correct that mistake. I really love the way she's coming out. I just love her as a model. She is just fantastic. She reminds me of Madame X from the painting that John Singer Sargent did of Madame X. She was a 19th century society woman, and she was just ahead of her time, but she had this just amazing profile. And that's one of the things I love about Carolina, is she just has this just such an elegant profile, and just reminded me of that John Singer Sargent paintings. James says all paintings give my headache. Sometimes it feels that way, but you do some really great stuff there, James, and you should always be encouraged. You know, you're really a good artist. And let's say James says it sounds cool when it spools up, and then oh yeah, like the really cool noise with the turbo. And then, but I've never got ink out of it. Never got ink. So have you tried the ink? I think the ink would be perfect, right? Because of the viscosity of the ink, even before you put any. So I haven't worked in color. And I think one of the reasons I haven't worked in color is just like a sort of a time period of my life. And I think I'm going to go back into color pretty soon. But right now, I'm just sort of enjoying the black and white. You know what it is, guys? I'm enjoying the simplicity of it, yet just the ability to grow as an artist, to see values and see the shapes, the inner contours and the outer contours, and really enjoying the airbrush. And that's one of the main things I think that came from this, is that you guys, I'm able to share the airbrush and break it down into a much simpler way, and a lot of artists have been responding, and just, you know, their airbrushes have been, you know, frustrating for them, but they see the light at the end of the tunnel now, which is really great. And I think every good teacher, every teacher that's worked their soul, just really loves it when a student starts enjoying the art supplies, because that's like the best feeling. It really is. When I see a student just really get excited about the airbrush And you know, it really is a great feeling. And we're going to move into black and white, move into from black and white into color, which is going to be really fantastic. So guys, I was thinking, let me see if this is possible. I'm going to show you some things that I did yesterday. And I don't know if I'm going to try it. So are you guys up for an experiment? So let's see if we could do that. So while I'm here, I'm just going to very quickly open up my Critter software. And I'm still here with you guys. But what I want to do is show you guys some lessons, some ideas about how you could use software to do some incredible things. So I'm going to bring my tablet out. And I really think as artists, we really have to always look for all the different tools at our disposal and be open to things that could make things positive and open up our creativity and whatnot. So that's cool. So here's my tablet by Huion, which is pretty neat, and I really do love it. And then I have to get my pen right here. So who out there has one of these digital tablets? So let me go ahead and go to Critter, and I'm going to, in Critter, I'm going to open up a photo, and I want to show you some of the ways that we can enhance our photos. Okay, so now this is an on-the-fly thing, but I just wanted to show you that, okay, so you have your artwork, right? Or your reference, and I don't want you to just stay with the reference. I want you to really see that, you know, once you have your reference, there's a lot of creativity you can do even before you start painting. So I'm going to add a source, and not S-A-U-C-E, but S-O-U-R-C-E. That's my New York accent coming up. And I'm going to open up a program here. Give me one moment, guys. But I think this is cool. It's sort of like on the fly. Okay, let's see this here. So do you guys on the live stream, do you see that right now? Can you see the live stream? Let's see. If I move this up higher. No. So let me close that out. And then I'm just going to move this up here. And okay, so let's see if this actually pulls it up. Okay, great. So there we are, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make this big. So we're cooking with gas now. So here's the program I was thinking of. So now I have my, you know, this right here. And I'm going to go ahead and make some changes to this picture even before I paint. So I'm going to come here. And I am just going to change the gray here. Let's see. Like I said, this is on the fly, so I'm hopeful to make this work. If not, it's going to be part of next week's lesson. Let's see. So I don't think that it's actually working, but okay, so that's going to be next week's lesson. So let's go ahead and kill that. So yeah, only see the tablet. This is something that I'm going to actually teach you guys next week because I think I'm learning it, but this was just on the fly. So let's go back to this. Yeah, and I wanted to show you guys that, you know, you're going to have your reference, but what you can do to that reference before you even get to the point of painting it. Because your photos are always going to be a little crappy, right? They're always going to be a little off. And there's always going to be something that's not perfect, whether it's too dark or, you know, maybe the eye isn't bright and all that. Yes, we were almost going digital, but we did have, I have to figure out how to do it. I did do it, but it's sort of late in the live stream. I think I'm part tired and all of that. So James says that's going to be cool. I think so, and thanks, James. I really think it's something that you guys are really going to get a hold of. So let's say you're just doing a painting of celebrity, right? Well, this way you could lighten it or darken it. You could change the contrast. You could actually do some radical changes, which is really great. Or maybe just put a little bit of red there and just really go into some of the more creative aspects early going. So this way the painting is more yours. And it really helps. You can change the background, the color of the background, do a light or dark background. There's so many different things you can do, which is really great. So it looks like we're out of ink there. So let's see if we could actually put in a darker value because we want to start getting that contrast. So we're going to put her over here. So sorry about that. I thought I was able to do that on the fly, but didn't work out. So we did 9 and 5. So let's do 12 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. And then we're going to do 4. So that's going to be a little bit darker, not too crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're working with paper, so we always want to be like really super anal about things and make sure that we circumvent a problem before it happens. So that's why you always want to dry. You have your paper towel, and so you're all set. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. And notice that the artwork is far away. We don't want that coming back to haunt us. So we have some ink on our hands. Those are things you want to be wary of. So Wendy, remember the portrait that I did? Now you guys could see this portrait, and I really want you to go ahead and I have it as a playlist, the portrait of Natalie Wood, just to see the different mishaps that happened with that painting. It would be good to see because a lot of stuff I do is because of that, because of those mishaps. Okay, so we have a deeper color. Remember, we never want to go straight in. So let's move this aside and we'll go ahead and do some tests with this value. So this was the value we had before. Let me just darken this so we could just show you a little bit better. So we can see, blow that out. See, a little bit darker, a little bit richer than that, but not too crazy. And I think that's good. So we are slowly getting darker as we go. Let's see. Kiva says, if you don't have paper towels, wipe it on your pants. Yes. Never wear painting clothes that you're attached to, right, Kiva? Now, which paper towels as far as, or a digital program? The paper towels I use are Viva paper towels. I like them. They're really good. They have they leave a lot less lint, and they seem to really have a nice texture. So that's my plus. They're a little more expensive. You get them at Walmart, but I like them better than Bounty. As far as, you know, studio work, definitely. And let's see. So James says, laughing out loud, Kiva. Kiva's smiling. Bradley says, has anyone been painting and looked down and found a bunch of eraser stuff on their ink? Yes, that does happen, because what could happen is you have eraser shavings and then you just blow it on there. So yeah, that happens. And that's something that we always got to be mindful. Yeah, been there, Bradley. I know exactly. No, you were talking about a painting I did. Oh, yes, Natalie Wood. The Natalie Wood painting that I did. There's a Natalie Wood playlist. In that playlist, I think there's four parts, and just all the different mishaps, because that's my first live stream using this technique, and all the different mishaps that happened. So just for that alone is a really good learning experience. What I spilled water, I spilled ink. Oh my God, so many different things happened. And so Kiva says, nope, I drank paint water yesterday. What? What are you drinking paint water for? On accident, I hope? Oh my God, Kiva, that's too funny. James says, I've looked down and found a bunch of paint in my lap. Oh man, that's scary, especially if it's red. Think you're dying or something. And then Bill says, that's the secret. Paint water and gummy bears. Gummy bears, that's too funny, guys. I think that's the thing I forget to do when I paint. I forget to eat, and I'm sure you guys are the same way. Because it was next to my coffee. Oh my God. That had to be nasty, right? Ew. Thank God it wasn't cadmium. We'd have to take you to, like, a hazmat center. If it was like a cadmium red or something. Or, was it lead white, lead white is actually, you can't even make it anymore. I like zinc white. Oh, that's a good thing, guys. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you're working in acrylic and you want to find a nice transparent white that has very little blue shift, go with the zinc white by Golden, and even go ahead with your transparent airbrush extender by Golden, and even lower the viscosity, raise the viscosity a little bit more to make it even closer to skim milk. So that's a good point there. Hey guys, don't knock it till you try it. Oh, paint water? When I was a kid in 8th grade, I once paid a kid 25 cents to drink the watercolor water in art class. And he spit it out, but I still gave him the 25 cents because you know what? That's gutsy. When the watercolor water gets that real brown, nasty color, that's pretty gross. Yeah, so he got he got some points just for that. Kiva says, yes, it's really gross, and it happens on a weekly basis. Uh-oh, Kiva, we're going to have to detox. That's another thing. We're going to have to talk about the airbrushes. So this is going to be like a multiple intervention, Kiva. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be like on A&E or something like that. So Wendy says, you can make it, not saying it's legal, but it can be made. So what can be made? Bill says, as an oil painter, how is she alive? Oh, yes, you can make the lead white. Yeah, which is really just horrifying. I would actually paint with lead white if I had a hazmat suit. That stuff is scary. And then Wendy says, a kid next to me would swallow your money. Oh, my God, that's gross, because money's nasty. James says, Golden is awesome stuff. My nephew works there. Oh, yeah, in upstate New York. I talk to them all the time. Is he a chemist or is he one of the people in customer service? I speak to the guy, Mike, all the time in the airbrush department. He always gives me, great information. I always have 107 questions when I'm working in Golden, which I haven't in a couple of months. So, I sort of stopped doing color for a while. It's not going to be forever. But it's just where I am now artistically. So isn't it nice, guys, that things are starting to turn, that we're sort of building things up? And I'm even darkening those midtones even yet again. And what's that going to do is when you darken the midtones and then you darken the darks, and then when we come in with that highlight with the white pastel, it's going to be an explosion. It's going to be really nice. Kiva says, I love golden paint. Yeah, what's not to love, right? It's just fantastic stuff. Bill says she has plenty of space to invite us for a paint party or an intervention. And Kiva says, but it tastes horrible. Oh my God. Wendy's laughing. James says, he's just a worker bee. Oh, okay. So he's working in the factory, right? In the manufacture of the product, which is very cool. Very small company, but they're one of the founders of acrylic paint. I mean, they're one of the main guys, main players for a long time. And I'm going to go ahead and work on this this area right here of her nose. Make sure that I have the shape correctly. And I'm going to go ahead and lighten this with the white pastel. And that's going to smooth things out here, which is good. So I'm like a chess player. I'm thinking all these moves ahead. Setting things up for that, you know, the end. So Willie says, I got to go, guys. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks, Tim. Always a pleasure, my friend Willie. It's great to see you. And thanks so much for all your great comments today. So cool. And Rapunzel, how are you? How's everything going? Good to see you. Glad you're here. That's so great. So fantastic. Okay, so cool. And yes, see you next week, Willie. Looking forward to that. And so how's everything going, Rapunzel? How was your week? So as you can see, we're in part 2 of this painting here. Now we can go ahead and do different grades of eraser. I always collect all these different erasers, and they give you just a different texture when you use them. And I always recommend when you go to the art store, pick up an eraser. When you go into Hobby Lobby or anything like that, pick up as many erasers as possible and test them out and see what's best for which situation. And that's going to really help. So it just raises your arsenal. And even though we have a profile, you know, it doesn't mean that everything is simple. I think that you have different problems to solve, and that's really cool. So always look for that. Oh, glad to hear you. So Stefan, always great to see you. And Stefan's doing some amazing things over there in France. So I love your work, and he has such a great, Stefan has such a great, you know, mind for experimentation and innovation. So really fantastic things he's doing. So love that. So this is a gum eraser. I have one of these. I also have a Factice, which is really good. I'll just go over some of the erasers. I have a Canon battery. That's not an eraser. And then I have, let's see, what else do I have in here? Of course, the kneaded eraser, electric erasers. You know, if you don't have these, always go ahead and, you know, like I said, you want to have as many erasers as possible. Here's a different brand of a kneaded eraser by Generals. It's kind of mushy, kind of interesting. So I actually should have more in this. A lot of my erasers are in the Pastel Studio, so I should have a lot more. But that's the ones I have to show you so far. So as we're deepening the shadows, it's great because it gives us the ability to deepen the darks. See that? We can deepen that. It's just, it's nice to do it gradual. It seems to be, you know, a little more, you get a little more involved in the painting. And you know, it's so funny. The battery does look like an eraser. I have a battery I mean, have an eraser that looks exactly like the battery. The Canon battery makes a wonderful eraser. Yes. Not sure what it would erase, you know, but it could erase something. What would the name of the others? This one is by Staedtler. It's like just a regular gum eraser. And then this is the Factice. You can see this. This is so soft and a really great eraser. But it's really nice and soft. As you can see, it doesn't dig into the surface, yet erases very well. So definitely highly recommend this one. But yeah, guys, you know, erasers are so important, especially when you're working with airbrush, especially with this technique here. You're definitely going to need a variety of erasers. And you see, like, I'm just going to show you guys how nice and clean you get these erasing. Now, the drawback of something like this, it's not very exact, so you have to do more of your larger areas. But a lot of fun nonetheless. So what are some of the, oh, the Black Pearl. I have one of them. What brand is the Black Pearl? I think it's the same thing as the Pink Pearl. And that one is a little interesting. I'm kind of afraid to use it. You know, I'm kind of afraid to use the airbrushes with a color because you know, I've had it where it actually deposited some of that color onto my surface. So I'm a little bit weary of that. But I hear they're great. It's just me. I've had bad experiences with them. Oh, and let's see. So Staedtler, right, that's true. Staedtler is the Black Pearl, Bradley. And James says, I wonder if the eraser dust would give good skin texture. You know what? Everything goes with airbrush. You know, I would love to hear some of your experiments. You know, remember, just because the idea doesn't come, I think it's a quote, just because the idea it comes from you doesn't mean it's not genius. So go ahead, if you have that, go ahead, and because you might just, you know, have a genius idea, and that's fantastic. So Stefan says, mix resin, epoxy, and latex, then have an eraser. Wow, homemade erasers. Now that's pretty cool, Stefan, definitely. So yes, the same as a Pink Pearl, Bradley says. I've had that Pink Pearl deposit some pink on that. And I've been using a Pink Pearl since I was in art school as a kid. And I have several of them. Several Pink Pearls. Everyone has them, right? That's just the most famous art eraser out there. And see how great, like, it's good I brought this out because you can get like really great skin texture by doing like dagger strokes. See that? With something this big. You can just really get nice hair texture, as you know, for the larger light area. And then you can come back in with like maybe this eraser. So different airbrushes, I mean different erasers definitely have a different use, especially in the later goings here. So you definitely can really do some nice things without doing every single hair. I'm not a big fan of the artists who do every single hair. I don't see Hans Holbein the Younger. I don't see Rembrandt or Vermeer getting involved with every little hair. So I'm sticking with the old masters and rather suggest the hair when it comes to portraits than every little tiny hair. Heath says, another great night, Tim. Gotta run. Talk to you all next week. Heath, always a pleasure. Great to see you. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. And I really appreciate that. Let's see. So that's cool. So that's very cool. So it's 11:29. So I think we're doing pretty good, right? We're getting there, and you guys can see how we're sort of setting up for the grand finale of part 3. And I think we could really maybe do a part 3 and a part 4. I'm not sure. We'll see, but I think we'll be able to resolve this painting pretty much in next week. So this is our test, and then not our test, but our painting. Now, if you haven't received the reference, please feel free to email me, and I will be glad to send that out. So that would be good. And so here we're just going to take this eraser, and we're just going to establish this side of her hair because it's parted in the middle. We don't have to get exact. We just have to indicate, right? We don't have to go crazy. So when we come back, we're going to come in with a very dark color. Maybe even something like maybe 3 parts, 3 full eyedroppers of water to maybe 18 drops of India ink, and really come in with the darks. And then after that's done, we're going to come in with the white and start really modeling the form, and everything's just gonna pop. So really exciting stuff. So 11:30, thank you so much. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button and that little bell icon. That helps the channel. And so I hope to see you guys next week. And if you have any questions during the week, I'm always up to help. So go ahead and send me a quick email. Let me know what you're working on. If I could, maybe give you some pointers, that would be great. Also, remember Ink Flingers, the group on Facebook. Everyone goes on there and talks about their art and shares their paintings. So that's pretty exciting as well. So I hope everyone has a great Wednesday. We will see you next week, God willing. Take care, you guys. And I think you guys are all fantastic. Thanks so much for spending your Wednesday with me. I really, really, really appreciate it.